that it's not just important to stand up to UKIP, but it's very important that we politically stand against UKIP, and that is what TUSC is attempting to do. And I think that maybe, I might provoke a bit of discussion here, but I think that, and it's not something new, it's something that we've raised in the local community again and again, because we think austerity is providing fertile ground, and Joe touched upon it, for which UKIP to grow. And all the politicians who have implemented austerity, we would argue, are culpable in creating this fertile ground for the growth of UKIP. Many of you might not know, but Stella Creasy and John Cryer, unfortunately, walked through the lobbies with the Tories and voted for £30 billion worth of cuts. She voted on George Osborne's budget, and John Cryer did as well, for £30 billion worth of cuts for the next Parliament. Now that means the cuts that are coming in access to housing, in where you are in the queue at Whipps Cross, whether your child is educated in a classroom over 30. Those politicians who voted for those cuts voted to denigrate the living conditions of millions of people. And the fallout from austerity is creating racism, and it's creating division, and it's feeding the growth of UKIP. And I think that, it's ironic a bit, because when I spoke in a meeting when the EDL were coming to town, I pointed to Greece and what was happening in Greece and the growth of Golden Dawn. But many people will know, with the election of the Syriza government and just proposing anti-austerity measures, has actually undercut the support for Golden Dawn. In a recent poll, 70% of Golden Dawn voters, these are people who voted for Golden Dawn, said they now supported the Syriza government, which shows you how volatile voting and support is when it comes to austerity. And I think that we have to aim to push the UKIP vote back round here. And we did that a bit, because in Chingford we stood a number of candidates, and on the night of the vote, people who went along who were tellers said to us that people were voting one TUSC, one UKIP. Now that might be a little bit unpalatable for some people, to think that people might vote for an anti-cuts candidate and for a UKIP candidate. But in places like Burnley, the local Labour Party were coming up to us and saying, in places where you do put candidates up, the UKIP vote went up. So what we're arguing at the moment is that it's important that we have an anti-austerity challenge. We hope, for instance, if Diane Abbott and if Joan Arnold is giving support to stand up to UKIP, that they bear some responsibility for not providing the ground on which UKIP will grow. And my last point, I know you've indulged me a bit, but my last point was this, because Stephen mentioned the former Yugoslavia and how he was touched by how ethnically diverse and cultural it was, very similar to the atmosphere that exists in Walthamstow, and how a society could tear itself apart and end up at war. Well, I would argue that in the years, and we were critical of what existed in the former Yugoslavia, but in the years of prosperity, when people have jobs, when people have homes, when people have access to health and education, the ethnic and the religious differences recede into the background. When the former Yugoslavia broke apart economically, all those divisions came to the foreground. So my appeal tonight is to support the TUSC challenge, because we are politically standing up to UKIP.